I wanna be a billionaire so freaking bad. Buy all of the things I never had.
Hello all, we're back, and this week we're going to talk about a movie that we actually just saw.
Yes, we did.
That raised a whole lot of interesting questions.
Well, it does if you own a business, and I know a lot of our fans out there are entrepreneurs or have owned businesses and have since retired. You understand the pitfalls that can come with partnerships, sole proprietorships, entrepreneurships, the whole kit and caboodle, and this all is based on the fact that we just saw The Social Network, which certainly points to, is a handshake enough in this day and age to bind a business?
This motto. You know, you don't get to 500 million friends without making some enemies. Well,
and there are
is it
lot
necessary?
of examples.
Is it necessary to make enemies along the way, or can you behave with integrity and treat people well?
I think you have to make, if you are going to grow to $1 billion or multi-billion-dollar business, you are going to make enemies. If you are going to have maybe $1 million business, maybe a smaller business like we have, you make a couple of enemies, usually your own partner, but you don't necessarily have people, you know, that you've thrown to the ground because it's a smaller business.
And what's interesting is we have operated, for 27 years, which I think is a miracle in and of itself, the fact that we're still around and that we get along and most of the time.
Although I am only 30, and look at me. It's killing me.
Just turned 54 yesterday,
54,
by the way.
Yesterday. Me.
And, you know, that we operate
on a handshake.
On a handshake.
God, someday I know this is going to come in. And although we watched that movie, and then what did we say to each other? Maybe we
should write it down.
Maybe this isn't such a good idea. Because it is true. You think to yourself, as so many people do when they start out a business, this is my friend. We're always going to be friends. It's always going to be great. And you know what?
Well, these guys,
you're not always going to be friends, and it isn't always going to be great.
So you've got Eduardo Saverin, who put up all the money. In case you don't know the story and you haven't seen it,
he gave $1,000 to start Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg had the brains and the cojones to make Facebook reality, but that $1,000 entitled Eduardo to 30% of the company until he got screwed, and he did get screwed. But in the long run, he sued, and, you know, something about now owning 5% of Facebook, which was his settlement, which equals about $1.25 billion, makes me feel like I wish I was screwed like that. Thank you very much. Someone screw me for $1.25 billion. No, the question, and that brings up an ethical question I'm going to ask you. You adore me. We've been working together forever. You're my dear friend. But if someone said to you,
I'll give you $1 billion.
I'll give you $1 billion for your business, but I don't want Janet Prensky. Shocking. I don't know why they would say it, but I don't want Janet involved in the business.
I'm nothing without you, honey.
I know that.
You know that.
But I don't want Janet involved in the business. You know, you're now 60-some-odd years old. Someone offers you $1 billion. You'd be done. You could retire, travel, enjoy your life, etc. Tell me you wouldn't at least entertain it.
Well, I would like to think that a deal's a deal, and a handshake is a handshake. And a former client of ours taught us that. And you know, and operated at the $1 billion level, and did business with a handshake. And I mean, money is it's very seductive. But
although you can't laugh with it, and you can't go to the movies with it,
right.
It's not a friend.
And this guy may have a girlfriend, and he may have friends, but you know, I mean,
they only like him because he's Mark Zuckerberg. I would say, if someone said to me, I would give you $1 billion. But Anne-Marie, I could not be involved in the company.
You're like, bye-bye.
And honestly,
Anne-Marie who?
I would take it, and I would give you half of the money.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, but I would send you on your way. You know what I mean? I would pay. Right. In other words, I wouldn't do what Mark Zuckerberg did. Listen, that money is very attractive. We've worked together for 27 years. Okay, it's been great. It's been great. Get out of here. But it's not like
I would be lost without me.
I would be lost, but I think the way to do it, if I were Mark Zuckerberg, I never would have screwed the guy and went from I'm going to give you 30% of my company to 0.03%.
And that was really odd.
Never.
Why did he do that? It's like you had enough money. How much do you need?
Exactly. In other words, you can figure out a way to still make tons of money
and be honorable
and honor the people who started you off and gave you a break. Listen, although you and I have worked this business pretty equally right now, I don't forget that I left the business to pursue a radio career for a year, and when that didn't work out, you took me back. And I owe you. That was a very kind gesture.
It
You
was
could have
my money,
screwed me.
but it was my money that I took took out the loans that kept the business
Yeah.
afloat.
You started the business.
I started the business, and I
Yes.
kept the
But
financials.
now I keep it.
Yes, now you
I
keep
it
up.
sailing
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
But
that's the trade-off.
All I'm saying is in general, and that's why you're now a partner.
Okay.
For absolutely,
Right.
it made the most sense. Of course, her family is still wondering why my name comes first, and I said another 23 years, and your name will be first.
Well, we'll see
No
about
problem.
that. In fact, I'm thinking of changing that. I'm going to get to that. That's next week's show.
I don't
takes
know.
over.
I think it just raises the whole question. And
Well,
there
it does.
are
And
business
can you
people-
be ethical in business? And I think you can.
But there are partners out there who operated ethically and with integrity.
Of
but we were
course.
just brainstorming on some of the successful.
There was the
partners.
horrible demise of the Disney group, the Eisner and the Katzenberg. Some businesses cannot survive. Some of those family businesses
Yeah, those
have
are bad.
really
Very, very
gone
bad.
awry, as you would expect. And Disney is another
Yeah.
example of that. And even though they're not really in business, that's sad about Courtney Cox and David Arquette.
Well, they had business.
They were production,
Yeah,
right? A
yeah,
production
they did a
company.
little
And I
bit.
guess they're together, but I thought that was...
So
do
sad.
I always think these couples are going to last.
I know.
I'm just so stupid.
I know.
They never
You don't know what
last.
goes on behind the scenes. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I think we've exhausted the subject of integrity, and
Okay.
I don't mean that in a dismissive way so much as, I would like to think that I would behave differently than he did, but I've never been tempted at that level, and doubt that I ever will be unless I get going really
I
hurry.
think what is I will end it, since you obviously want to end it, but I
Well,
will
I wanna
say
bring
what
up
is
another point.
interesting to me about the whole situation is that they kept saying throughout the movie, and I guess this is true, that Zuckerberg wasn't in it for the money. He didn't care that much about the money. If he didn't care that much about the money,
Then
then
why?
why? What was it?
And he surrounded himself, if in fact he surrounded himself with people
Sean
who were...
Parker. He's the one who did
were,
it, Mr. Napster.
who were lobbying against his former relationships, then still shame on him.
Mm-hmm.
Surround yourself with better people. And speaking of better people, this young man,
Oh, he's a
who I think is just hysterical when you put them together, that they really look a lot alike. But Jesse Eisenberg was the only person a year or so, it was actually 1 year ago, he was shooting in Boston, some of the scenes that they for the movie, and we were doing an outreach, a public service outreach pro bono project for our friends at the Washington Animal Rescue League, and we sent out maybe 100 letters to celebrities. Jesse Eisenberg was the only one who responded. We'll show you a better picture of this so that you can see the cat on his lap. And he said, and he shot a public service announcement with us, and it was really hard. He couldn't memorize 30 seconds of copy, which was hysterical and adorable. He couldn't have been nicer.
His sister's involved, he said,
His
right?
sister, Haley Eisenberg, whom I don't know if you'll remember, who was the one that, was his Mean Joe Green, tossed the towel.
Oh, she was the
the
little kid with the towel?
curly black
Oh.
hair. She now runs an animal shelter in Harlem.
Oh, wow.
And he told us about it, and he just said, I'll do anything to help animals anywhere. And he was so sweet and so normal.
He's the anti-Mark Zuckerberg.
He's the anti-Mark Zuckerberg, and I just thought that was very interesting.
I wonder if we should get that PSA and we should post it on the Boomer Broads website.
Well, we will do
and
that.
we will do that.
There we go.
All right,
We will do
everybody.
that. So, partner, we're still working
Handshake.
together today, huh?
All right, give us another week.
And
See you next week.
And a billion or so, right?
Until then.